Mary had a little lamb.
The false. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
The investigation into the school shooting incident at Oxford High School, which occurred on November 30th, 2021, has revealed that James Crumbley purchased a Sig Sauer 9mm model SP 2022 from Acme Shooting Goods in Oxford, Michigan on November 26, 2021. A store employee confirms that Ethan Crumbley was present with James at the time of the purchase. Per statute, James Crumbley completed ATF Form 5309A. On or about November 26, 21, Ethan Crumbley's social media posts reveal photos of the semi-automatic handgun, along with the caption, "Just got my new beauty today," including an emoji with hearts. "Sig Sauer 9mm. Any questions I will answer," end quote. Subsequent to the purchase of that weapon, one of Jennifer Crumbley's social media posts on about 11/27/21 read, quote, "Mom and Sunday testing out his new Christmas present," end quote.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Merry freaking Christmas. Can you believe this? Okay, so that is the prosecutor for the county in which the school shooting in Michigan occurred, right? And her name is Karen McDonald, and she is probably the smartest person on the planet today, okay? Here is what happened this morning. Karen McDonald held a press conference to announce that she is charging the parents of Ethan Crumbley, the Crumbleys. She's charging the parents of the Crumbleys, which is a very rare occurrence when it comes to school shooters. And you know, a lot of the school shooters did get their guns from their parents, as we remember all the school shootings in our lifetimes, right? And nobody's ever charged the parents with negligence or involuntary manslaughter or aiding and abetting or an accessory to or anything, nothing. There's never been, that I can find, charges against parents unless the kid shot a brother or sister, or unless the kid committed suicide, or unless the kid killed somebody in that household, right? And then maybe there would be charges against the parents. However, and this case is very, very special and rare in that the prosecutor here has decided to move forward with charging the parents with involuntary manslaughter, which basically is a very profound and scary term. That means negligence. That means that you aided and abetted. That means that you did not, keep this gun for. In fact, turns out that the dad actually was a straw purchaser. According to that statement there, the dad was a straw purchaser for a 15-year-old son. That's why mom is saying, that's your Christmas gift, right? It's his gun now, which is illegal under federal law. But she is not a federal prosecutor. She's a county prosecutor. And so she's stuck in the wheelhouse in which she toils and works. So she brought, state charges, state crime, criminal charges against the parents. So just for anybody who's going to ask me, why isn't the father being charged with being a straw purchaser? The answer is because that's a federal crime. Okay. And the feds haven't weighed in. So there's a possibility that will happen too. However, the story about what happened with this purchased gun for a 15-year-old that daddy decided was a great thing to buy on Black Friday for Christmas for his 15-year-old son, who obviously had behavioral issues, problems, is just a stunning way to send a message to people who keep guns in their house, knowing that they have children or minors in the house who may want to play with the gun, or who may think that dad bought it for them and it's theirs, and may then take it, stick it in a backpack, and go to school and shoot up the place, right? But the story gets even worse, okay? Even worse. Here's the prosecutor saying why, remember we heard from the sheriff. The sheriff said, Sheriff Michael Bouchard, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. He said that the parents were called to school, but he didn't want to say why the parents were called to school the day before the shooting, and also that the parents were called to school the day of the shooting. But we didn't know why, remember?
I know you say these two different teachers reported the shooter's disturbing behavior, but what specifically raised their concerns?
Well, I can't articulate the exact nature of it because it's now part of our evidentiary process and we don't want to prejudice the process or trial, but I can tell you that two different teachers, one in the morning the day before, saw behavior they thought was troubling. School officials brought them down to the office and had a conversation the day of the shooting. And by the way, they left a message for the parents as well, both electronically and voicemail on that evening. The next day, a different teacher in a different classroom saw behavior that they found troubling and brought the individual down to the office, and ultimately school officials talked with he and his parents the day of the shooting, but at no time were we looped into any of that.
All right. So that was all we knew. Well, today we know the rest. This is an unbelievable story. Strap in for this one.
On November 21st, 21, a teacher at the Oxford High School observed Ethan Crumbley searching ammunition on his cell phone during class and reported the same to school officials. Jennifer Crumbley was contacted via voicemail by school personnel regarding that son's inappropriate internet search. School personnel indicate they followed that voicemail up with an email but received no response from either parent. Thereafter, Jennifer Crumbley exchanged text messages about the incident with her son on that day, stating, quote, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught, end quote.
Oh my God. So mom knew that he was searching ammo on his phone. Mom knew because the school, the day before the shooting, had called the house, left a message. And they must have, told the mom what exactly he was doing in class, a message which she chose to ignore. And then subsequently, they sent an email to both parents telling them that the kid was searching for ammo on his phone in class the day before the shooting, and they chose to ignore both the voicemail and the emails asking them to please come to school to discuss a behavioral issue with Ethan, knowing that they had just purchased for him a gun, a Sig Sauer semi-automatic handgun, knowing that that's what they had just bought him, and that is why he was searching for ammo. They chose to ignore it, and then they text him. Mom does. LOL, you have to learn not to get caught. The day of the shooting.
On November 30th, 21, the morning of the shooting, the next day, Ethan Crumbley's teacher came upon a note on Ethan's desk, which alarmed her to the point that she took a picture of it on her cell phone. The note contained the following: a drawing of a semi-automatic handgun pointing at the words, quote, the thoughts won't stop, help me, end quote. In another section of the note was a drawing of a bullet with the following words above that bullet, quote, blood everywhere, end quote. Between the drawing of the gun and the bullet is a drawing of a person who appears to have been shot twice and bleeding. Below that figure is a drawing of a laughing emoji. Further down the drawing are the words, quote, my life is useless, end quote. And to the right of that are the words, quote, the world is dead.
A teacher took a photograph of that note that he was drawing at his desk. This is the day after the parents were emailed and the parents were called, because he's searching for ammo. And now he's on the day of the shooting drawing these dark, dank pictures of him shooting people and saying, the voices won't stop. I can't stop thinking about this. Please help me. The world is dead. And they call the parents to come to school, to come in now that they have him in the office, to please come in. And they do. They show up.
At RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, The Randi Rhodes Show.
30th, 21, the morning of the shooting, the next day, Ethan Crumbley's teacher came upon a note on Ethan's desk, which alarmed her to the point that she took a picture of it on her cell phone. The note contained the following: a drawing of a semi-automatic handgun pointing at the words, quote, "The thoughts won't stop, help me," end quote. In another section of the note was a drawing of a bullet with the following words above that bullet, quote, "Blood everywhere," end quote. Between the drawing of the gun and the bullet is a drawing of a person who appears to have been shot twice and bleeding. Below that figure is a drawing of a laughing emoji. Further down the drawing are the words, quote, "My life is useless," end quote. And to the right of that are the words, quote, "The world is dead," end quote. As a result, James and Jennifer Crumbley were immediately summoned to the school. A school counselor came to the classroom and removed the shooter and brought him to the office with his backpack. Counselor obtained the drawing, but the shooter had already altered it. The drawings of the gun and the bloody figure were scratched out along with the words, "Help me," and "My life is useless." "The world is dead," and "Blood everywhere." Those were all altered by him. At the meeting, James and Jennifer Crumbley were shown the drawing and were advised that they were required to get their son into counseling within 48 hours. Both James and Jennifer Crumbley failed to ask their son if he had his gun with him or where his gun was located, and failed to inspect his backpack for the presence of the gun, which he had with him. James and Jennifer Crumbley resisted the idea of them leaving the school at that time, of their son leaving the school at that time. Instead, James and Jennifer Crumbley left the high school without their son. He was returned to the classroom.
I mean, come on. You know, can you imagine you're a parent of a kid, 15-year-old kid, and you're called into school the day before a shooting that your son actually accomplishes because he's looking for ammo on his cell phone during class. And you know, now I know why Black Friday is black, right? You know that on Black Friday, you bought your 15-year-old, you did a straw purchase and you bought your 15-year-old a freaking semi-automatic handgun. And you know that he, was very happy to get it and that he posted it on Instagram. And you say, enjoy it. It's Christmas. I'm so happy you have it, dear, right? And now the school is calling you. You get, a voice message saying there's some disturbing behavior occurring with your son in school today. We need to talk to you, and you ignore it. And then you get an email later on in the day saying, we're trying to reach you and your husband. Your son is displaying some disturbing behavior in school today. Please get in touch with us, and you ignore that too. And instead, you text your son, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You have to learn not to get caught. Is this parenting taught in the ninth circle of hell? I mean, honestly, I've never heard of anything that completely careless or sick. I mean, it's just twisted. All right. Then the day of the shooting, 2 to 3 hours before the shooting, they are called in because he's sitting in class drawing such disturbing pictures on his paper that the teacher takes a photo of it. And it clearly says, I need help. The thoughts won't stop. Help me. Blood everywhere. Bullets. And then the parents say, okay, maybe we better show up. So they do go to school, right? And the only thing they're concerned about, don't kick him out of school. They go, your son needs counseling and he needs it now. And you better, comply and get him some counseling within 48 hours. And they say, okay, fine. Just let's leave him in school today. We don't want him to be removed from school today. And they know they bought him a gun. And they know that the day before there was an alarm that was going off about their child doing something about that gun, trying to get ammunition for that gun. And instead, they say nothing about buying a gun. They say nothing about his obsession with this gun. They say nothing about, maybe we made a mistake. We bought him a gun. You know, we took him to the store and he picked it out. His dad bought it. It was going to be a Christmas present, you know, but we gave it to him early. I wonder if he has it in his backpack. I wonder if he's got it with him. They never tell the school. They never ask their son, do you have the gun with you? Is it in your backpack? And clearly they knew it was. Clearly they knew it was. Do you know how we know? Because during the shooting, when all the alarms are going off, when the 911 calls were flooding in, 100 people called 911 that day from that, who had children in that school. Do you know what his mother actually did? She texted him. And you know what the message was? Ethan, don't do it. Oh my God.
When the news of the active shooter at Oxford High School had been made public, Jennifer Crumbley texted to her son at 1:22 p.m., quote, Ethan, don't do it.
Oh my God.
At 1:37 p.m., James Crumbley called 911, reporting that a gun was missing from his house and he believed his son may be the shooter. Further investigation revealed that the 6-hour 9mm handgun purchased by James Crumbley was stored unlocked in a drawer in James and Jennifer's bedroom. The gun recovered from the shooter at the school after the shooting was the same gun that was purchased by his father, James Crumbley, on November 26, 2021, in the presence of his son. Based upon the foregoing, the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office requested and received authorized, we charged 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter as to James Crumbley and 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter as to Jennifer Crumbley.
But wait, there's more. No, there's more. This is crazy. This is really, really crazy. America is very sick. Okay, very, very sick. So the prosecutor had that press conference, I'd say, 2 hours ago, announcing that she was charging the parents, which again is rare, but she actually said out loud that the reason she was charging the parents is because she was entitled to. The facts of this case showed her that these parents had knowledge and a forethought of the kid having a gun, that they ignored warnings about him the day before, that when they came in on that day, they failed to tell the school or even ask their son if he had the gun in his backpack, but instead insisted that he be allowed to stay in school, never, ever, ever giving a heads up to the school about any possibility that he had not access to a gun, but that they had given him one. So the prosecutor has a press conference today to announce that she is, in a rare move, charging the parents with involuntary manslaughter, 4 counts, because 4 murders were successful, right? He literally killed 4 of his classmates. He shot 11 people. 7 of them, were wounded, but 4 have died. And they're supposed to be arraigned in a half an hour.
Connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, so I told you that, but wait, there's more? There's more.
An attorney representing them called our detectives and said, if the prosecutor announces charges, we'll make arrangements to have them arrested. And when we were informed the prosecutor had issued charges, we sent detectives out and got a call from the lawyer for the couple saying they're not returning her calls or texts. So if they think they're going to get away, they're not.
So the Crumbleys are missing now?
Correct.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So they can't find the Crumbleys. The FBI and the U.S. Marshals and a police fugitive team are searching for Mr. and Mrs. Crumbley because they're fleeing the interview. They're fleeing the interview. They were supposed to be arraigned at 4 o'clock this afternoon, Eastern time, right? I guess it's Eastern time. I don't know if it's Eastern time or Central time, right? Somebody will tell me in Michigan, like in Pontiac or Oxford County, like, are you on Central Time? I don't know. But they were supposed to be arraigned, and now they've disappeared. And there is a massive manhunt underway for the parents of Ethan Crumbley, the school shooter who shot 11 kids. Killed 4, 7 in the hospital. Oh, my God. And I have to tell you, searching her social media, journalists found that she had written a letter to President Trump. Yeah, a letter to President Trump thanking him, oh my God, for her Second Amendment rights. Dear President-elect Mr. Trump, feels funny to even be writing your name like that, but you made history on Tuesday. I'm not going to lie, I was scared, and she writes crapless, but she writes the word, to circle your name on my ballot. I've been back and forth on whether to vote for you or not vote at all. I struggled to make myself find a way to trust Hillary as a president. I could not. You see, I am an American woman. I value the equality of the LGBT community. In fact, I hold that in really high regards. I'm a feminist. I value women's rights, and I want to be alive when I see the first woman become president. But as an American woman with a 10-year-old child, I could not have that first woman president be Hillary. And then she says, thank you for respecting the Second Amendment as a female and a realtor. Thank you for allowing my right to bear arms, allowing me to be protected if I show a home to someone with bad intentions. Thank you for respecting that amendment. You see, Mr. Trump, I voted for you because I need you to stop Common Core. My son struggles daily, and my teachers tell me they hate teaching it, but they have to, except she wrote the have to. Their pay depends on these stupid effing test scores. I have to pay for a tutor. Why? Because I can't figure out 4th grade math. I used to be good at math. I can't afford a tutor. In fact, I sacrifice car insurance to make sure my son gets a good education and hopefully succeeds in life. Well, there's all your hopes and dreams dashed right there. And she said, most of the parents are locked up. My parents teach at a school where their kids come from illegal immigrant parents. Those kids don't care about learning. They threaten to kill my mom for caring about their grades. Do you realize, Mr. Trump, that they get free tutors, free tablets from our government so they can succeed? Why can't my son get those things? Do we as hardworking Americans not deserve that too? I have a very strong intuition, and I personally have always learned to go with my gut feeling, parens, thanks, Mom. Hillary started speaking. I listened. I looked at her eyes, her permanent, unchanging smile, her ability to show no emotion. And it was then my heart sank. My mind became clear, and I knew absolutely that her intention was not true. Her promises are false. Her voice has an evil cold. Everything she has done, whether it was proven true or not, I knew in the deepest of my gut that I could not let this woman have control over my son's future. And then she said she wasn't offended by his grab them by the pee comments. She said, quote, I say things all the time that people take the wrong way. Do I mean them? Not always. I'm not scared of your big personality and quick temper. There is a whole House of Representatives that still have to approve if you decide to get pissed at China and blow them up. She said she supported the wall. I am not a racist, but I support the wall. And the father linked to her blog post that she left there in 2016, writing, quote, my wife can be spot on sometimes. And now the whole family, well, half of them are on the run. 2/3 of this family is on the run with a manhunt underway for the parents, for the school shooting parents. And their son is, being held as an adult, which frankly is so upsetting to me personally. This whole system that we have is so broken. It's so unbelievably broken. He's not an adult, even though you wish he were. He's 15 years old, and obviously he's mentally ill. Obviously, he had some murder ideation. He was screaming for help in that picture. He was saying that it won't stop. I can't stop thinking about it. He was obsessing about killing. Okay? God only knows what he saw in his house. And then his parents go and buy him a gun for Christmas. The birth of Christ has to be commemorated in that household with an instrument of killing, with a deadly instrument. Guns are not for anything. They're not for anything but killing. That's the purpose of a gun. And they're fugitives now. Oh my God! And by the way, I hate to tell you this part. They used to live here with me in Florida. They used to live here in Florida, but both of them had been arrested for DUIs. Both of them were arrested for kiting checks, for not floating them, but for writing bad checks. And that's why they moved to Michigan. And then in Michigan, they just decided that they would raise this kid in their likeness. And, this message she wrote to her son where you have to learn not to get caught. What are they, Thelma and Louise now? I don't want to get caught. I'm not ready. Let's keep going. You mean it? Yeah, just keep going. Oh, my freaking God. What is happening in this country? What is the major malfunction in this country? What is going on here? How is it possible that the parents of a school shooter are fugitives and a giant manhunt is underway because they don't want to face responsibility?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Yeah, call that number if you want to talk to me. But if you want to make a donation, today's a very, 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 very good day. It is our holiday pledge drive here at Free Speech TV. Yes. And yesterday was so good. Yesterday was so good because it was a match day. Yeah, it was good. So guess what? Today's a match day, too. It is up to $10,000. There are new frontline funders who are willing to put their money where my mouth is today. This is awesome. Thank you to Karen in California, Brenda in Texas, Deborah in California, Janet in California, Mac in Colorado, Jerry in Arizona, Joe in Washington, D.C., Patsy and Gary in Washington State, Robert and Betty in Oregon, and William in Michigan. They will match anything that you can do today, dollar for dollar, up to $10,000. Okay? So please feel free. Today is a day to make double the impact with your $5 or $10 or $100 donation. It will become 200. It will become 10. Will become 20. On and on. Right? Up to 10 grand. So thank you to the frontline funders. Thank you to you. All you need to do is visit us at freespeech.org. We're an org. We're an org, not a com, because we are a 501c3, a not-for-profit org. Or you can call us at 877-378-8669. That will get you somebody over there in Denver, Colorado, where Free Speech TV is headquartered. Or the texting. Texting is super cool, super fun, super easy. You just text FSTV, Free Speech TV, to 44321. 44321, and then put in FSTV, and we will send you a secure link. You will be able to make the donation. It will be matched. And you will also get, if you do a certain amount, you'll see that there are gifts available that you can choose for yourself or to give for the Christmas season. And you can follow the fundraiser. You can follow the pledge drive and see exactly where we're at and how far away or how close to our goal we are. And you can choose to participate again by seeing that. So please do text us at 44321 FSTV, the letters FSTV. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So this is just incredible. This manhunt is still underway for the parents. in Michigan, still underway. What is the problem in these here United States of America? What is the major malfunction? How is this happening? How is this possible? That you have parents who were buying a gun for a kid, 15 years old, wishing him a Merry Christmas, meaning they were straw purchasers for their son at 15 years old to own a semi-automatic handgun. Then they get called from the school. Your son is Googling ammo. They ignore it, but they text the son and they say, LOL, I'm not mad at you. You just have to learn not to get caught. Holy crap. The next day, they're called into school because he's sitting there drawing what essentially is happening in his head, which he actually did do minutes after the parents leave the school without asking him, where's the gun? Where's the gun? Do you have the gun? We know we bought you a gun. Where's the gun? We bought you a gun 3 days ago. So where is it? Can I look in your backpack? Anything at all. Anything at all. And they didn't bother to tell the school either. They only said, you have to send him back to class. You have to send him back to class. We want him back in class. We want him back in class. They send him back to class with the backpack, by the way. And then he commits mass murder. Then he commits a school shooting, shooting 11 kids between the ages of 14 and 17, killing 4 of them, 7 of them hospitalized right as we speak. The parents are then charged with involuntary manslaughter, meaning they didn't cause him to shoot, but they aided him in the shooting. They were negligent. And they take off and they're on the lam. And you've got detectives and the FBI and U.S. Marshals looking for they're driving a 2021 Kia Seltos. It's black. Michigan tag is D like dog, Q like queen, G like God, 5203. DQG 5203. It's a black Kia Seltos with Michigan tags. What is the major malfunction? What is the problem? Linwood in Virginia.
Randy, it's been a minute since the election. I want to apologize for my reaction on that day.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really about parenting. The parenting is pretty much gone. Parents are not raising the children anymore. They're mainly the parents are trying to be the kid's friend. Now, excuse some of the terms I'm going to use. What in the hell is a parent doing giving a kid a gun for a birthday present?
No, not just a gun, a semi-automatic handgun, a Sig Sauer, okay? I mean, I remember when I was growing up, you probably do too, in our comic books, they used to have ads for Daisy rifles, right? And I remember asking my parents, could I have one? And they said, no, right?
Yes.
But now they're going into gun stores and doing straw purchases for semi-automatic handguns, gifting them to their children for Christmas, no less, and then failing to tell the school, who obviously has seen some troubling behavior, some mentally troubling behavior from this kid, and the parents refuse to tell the school that there's probably a gun in his backpack, and instead they say, send him back to class, send him back to class.
Well, they don't want to deal with him. And that's,
is it that they didn't want to deal with him? They didn't want to, or is it that this was a family plot or a plan or something? I don't know.
I can't say it was a family plan, but I'll just tell you like this. And I grew up born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, and I had a hard stepfather. If the word gun showed up, ass whoops was coming.
Huh.
We got the belt or the switch, old school. So we knew, okay, listen, Pops is serious business. We're not going to try this at home. But really what this is about is white parenting gone amok. White parents have gotten to the point where I really don't care anymore about what these kids do. I can have them. I can, whatever. These kids can do whatever the hell they want, shoot many school districts up. He had mental problems. Oh, we want to get little Jimmy his pills.
They're not even showing up to say that, okay? They showed up to say, please send him back to class now. Didn't tell the school that they bought him a gun. It's probably in his backpack. Didn't ask him, do you have the gun? Nothing. They texted him, Ethan, don't do it.
Well, they could have did that. They could have said, Ethan, don't do it. But they gave ammunition for Ethan to go out there and do it by giving. How old is this young man, by the way?
How what?
How old is this young man, by the way?
15.
What the hell is a 15-year-old kid doing with a gun? And who in the hell in the state of Michigan sold that gun to him? They need to be held liable for that.
No, the gun store sold it to the father. The father filled out all the paperwork, right? The correct paperwork for the background check, the whole 9 yards. But then the father gave it to the son as a Christmas present. He was a straw buyer for his son. The store has no responsibility for the father who filled out the right paperwork and bought the gun. They don't know what happens to it after they sell it. So
the father's now liable.
Well, under federal law, yes, he was a straw purchaser for a 15-year-old to have a semi-automatic weapon. But listen, I'm telling you, the sickest part of the story. Well, the whole story is sick. From the LOL, you have to learn not to get caught message that Jennifer Crumbley texts her son when the school first contacts her, and she ignores that, to the day of the shooting when she texts her son Ethan, don't do it. I mean, they know. This is complete evidence that they know how messed up this kid has gotten, and that he's going to hurt people, that he's going to kill people, that he's going to be a school shooter. That's why they were charged, because they knew. And instead of showing up at the school and telling the school, hey, listen, the reason why he's obsessing over a gun, we bought him one. We shouldn't have done it. But Ethan, do you have the gun? Is it in your backpack? Ethan, where's the gun? They don't tell the school that they bought their child a gun. They don't tell the school the reason why the thoughts won't stop about killing people is because he's got a gun on him. And by the way, he did have a gun on him. And so what does he do after his parents leave? He goes into the bathroom with his backpack where the gun is, and the parents knew. He loads it. He opens the bathroom door, and he very casually, they say that the closed-circuit TV is horrific because he calmly goes down the hallway shooting his classmates. And she's texting him, Ethan, don't do it, because she knows. And now they're on the lam, they're on the run, oh my God.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
I'm going to play you a voicemail that we received hours after I got off the phone with Representative Boebert after she posted her video.
We see you Muslim sin, bitch. We know what you're up to. You're all about taking over the country. Don't worry, there's plenty that will love the opportunity to take you off the face of the earth. Come get it, you fucking Muslim piece of shit, you jihadist. We know what you are. You're a fucking traitor. You will not live much longer, bitch. I can almost guarantee you that we the people are rising up, and you will be tried for a military tribunal, and you will be found guilty.
For those of you who did not hear it very well, let me read you what the voicemail says. We see you, sand, N-word bitch. We know what you are up to. You are all about taking over our country. Don't worry, there is plenty that would love the opportunity to take you off the face of this effing earth. Come get it. But you are effing Muslim piece of shit. You are jihadist. We know what you are. You are effing traitor, and you will not live any longer. Condemning this should not be a partisan issue. This is about our basic humanity and fundamental rights of religious freedom enshrined in our Constitution.
So the only portion of the Constitution they seem to care about is the portion that guarantees them the right to buy guns for their 15-year-olds, right? There is no religious freedom. Obviously, we saw this argument in Mississippi, with this Mississippi case in the Supreme Court this week, where there is apparently a love for only one brand of Christianity, just one kind of Christianity, and that is the kind that says, my body, your choice, right? This whole country has been so violently radicalized that you have members of Congress who are literally terrified to go to work because they now serve with people who would make phone calls like that. They now actually call them colleagues, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, the Matt Getzes, the Lauren Boeberts, the Gosars, the Andy Biggs, okay? This whole government has been infiltrated by violent haters, by people who are willing to give tours to insurrectionists who want to overthrow our government, people who would point out, see these windows? These windows are breakable. They're completely breakable. And you know where you'll end up? Right there in the speaker's lobby. And then you can go get Nancy Pelosi. And oh, by the way, James Clyburn has a secret office over here. This is where he toils, okay? And he's the majority whip. Okay, so he's the number 2. You want to get him too. Oh, and don't forget, Mike Pence, he's going to have the football. You need to go get him and hang him. Oh, my God. This whole experiment is failing. It is literally failing. And the leadership of this country has been so putrid and so violent and so willing to lie and distort and scream and yell about how that person is being stolen from, that person is being wronged. And this cult that follows this billionaire who they think somehow thinks of them and will do right by them somewhere, somehow, someday, as he transferred all of the money from the Treasury to his top 1% donors and stole Supreme Court seats, literally stole them with the help of the majority leader in the U.S. Senate, and put these ideologues on the court to make it into a partisan effort. And didn't do it alone, by the way. This is a long slog toward Gomorrah. We went through it all yesterday. It's called The Scheme. It has a name. I put an article in the homework today so you could read about the scheme that the Heritage Foundation and the Federalist Society and the Leonard Leos and the Carrie Saravinos and the sick, twisted, right-wing lunatic fringe has had in their head, in their ideology for at least 30 years that I know of, have turned the least democratic portion of our government, and by least democratic, I mean no voters necessary. The Supreme Court does not require anybody to vote for it, which is a problem for me. The Supreme Court is the least democratic of the 3 distinct branches of government that we have, right? The president needs to be elected, but not by a popular majority, no, by an electoral college majority, which is sick and twisted in and of itself. And then you have the House and the Senate, the legislative branch, that have to be elected by popular vote. And then you have the judicial branch, which doesn't have to be elected by anybody. And so the Republicans have decided that is where they're going to enforce their sicko rules by minority rule on everybody else. You realize that if this Mississippi thing prevails, that the Supreme Court is going to have to overturn Roe v. Wade in order to end the viability line between when an abortion is legal and when an abortion is not legal under our law. That line has been in place for 50 years. We've all agreed and relied on that law, on that ruling. And then it was affirmed in 1992 in the Casey case, which looked at every single portion of the Constitution that addresses liberty and freedom and privacy and everything and equality under our Constitution, right? So they're going to have to undo it and take that right away from half the population, with a majority of this country who are not for that. And they've been buying that particular branch of government to, I gave you the numbers yesterday. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. 17 million for Gorsuch and 17 million for Kavanaugh and 33 million for, Amy Covid Barrett. I mean, it's just an amazing scheme that they actually were able to get people who would go to their confirmation hearings and lie under oath, literally sit there and lie about how Roe is settled, precedent, blah, 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 right? And then the questions that we heard the other day, the grilling, the interest in overturning it was so apparent. It was so obvious. It was so... All because people can be talked into taking away other people's rights because they had a good salesman who was able to sell them literally down the river. And now the country is super violent and super divided and super polarized and super confused and radicalized to the point where you now not only have school shooters, but you have their parents who are also running from the law at the same time their kid is facing murder charges. I just, what in the world kind of country do we have, and what in the world are we going to do about it? I told you, if in June, this is the upside to all this, if in June the Supreme Court actually, produces this wet dream that the Heritage Foundation and the lunatic, fringy, right-wing, anti-choice people have had in their heads, there'll be chaos in this country. I mean, the whirlwind.
Truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
All right. This just in.
Major development coming in just the last couple of minutes. Attorneys who say they are representing the Crumbleys reaching out with this statement saying that the Crumbleys are in fact not missing. They say this: on Thursday night, we contacted the Oakland County prosecutor to discuss this matter and to advise her that James and Jennifer Crumbley would be turning themselves in to be arraigned instead of communicating with us. The prosecutor held a press conference to announce charges. The attorneys go on to say here, the Crumbleys left town on the night of the tragic shooting for their own safety. They are returning to the area to be arraigned. They are not fleeing from law enforcement, despite recent comments in media reports. But Jake, of course, we know they were supposed to be in court for that arraignment at 4 o'clock.
Maybe their lawyers don't have a watch. Maybe the lawyers think that Oxford, Michigan is on Central Time, and it isn't. It's on Eastern. I checked. Oh, my God. The lawyers are trying to clean this mess up because the Crumbleys fled the interview. They fled the interview. They fled the interview. They fled the arraignment. They had an appointment with the court today at 4 Eastern. It is now 4:21 Eastern. The Crumbleys have not appeared here. Ricky Ricardo doesn't appear here? No. And the lawyer is like, freaked out about how in the world am I going to represent these clients? So he texts the media and says, well, last night we talked to them. Trust me, the prosecutor told the lawyers last night, the Crumbleys are due in court tomorrow at 4 p.m. We are prepared and going to. charged the parents with involuntary manslaughter, both of them, 4 counts each, for the 4 murders that their son committed, and that they aided, and that they neglected to tell the school about him having a gun. And so we're holding him responsible. You are due in court. Your clients are due in court at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. There will be a press conference tomorrow afternoon. Listen, people don't even put stuff in the newspaper without calling you and telling you that they're going to press tomorrow. Do you have a comment? That's why every newspaper article you ever read says, we reached out to fill in the blank, and we've received no word back. That's because they called the day before to get a comment about what they were going to press with the next day. Trust me, this prosecutor, who is very, very smart, who knew to charge these parents, who saw the evidence of the text messages, who saw the evidence of a straw purchase, who saw the evidence of a kid who was mentally coming apart in a violent manner, tried to get the parents to get involved. The school did, because our mental health screening in school is pretty damn good. You have to kind of see that, right? Can't blame this one on the mental health care professionals, because they did their job. They saw what this kid was doing. They called the school resource officer. They called the guidance counselor. The guidance counselor called the parents the day before and said, red flag, red flag, red flag. And the parents ignored all of it, until the kid started drawing the thing he was about to do. And a teacher spotted that too. And the parents finally came in and neglected to tell the school that in his backpack he had a gun they purchased for him. Oh my God. Sean in Connecticut.
Hi, Randy. How are you?
I'm all right.
Well, basically what I want to get to is this, that it's possible that the mental health issues that this boy was dealing with have been running through his family through years, because quite often that mental health does cross generations. And you're seeing also culturally with the likes of Lauren Boebert and the others in Congress who also seem to have similar type of mental health conditions, and we're not dealing with those properly.
We're not dealing with those properly. Well, you can't deal with criminal law unless somebody violates it. You can't take, any sort of action. You can't charge people. You can't do it. The school did exactly what you would want them to do. The school saw something. They said something. They told the parents. The parents ignored it. They told them again. The parents came in. The parents chose a path for their son, and that was a violent path. That was a path of lying. That was a path of deceit. And the kid ended up being, the next school shooter.
Right, I understand that, but I don't put this on the school. I put this on the parents, because obviously there's something wrong there, and they did not even deal with it themselves.
Right.
And
That's
they should
right.
have.
That's right. And the parents, definitely, don't like responsibility. They don't want to face responsibility. They don't want to take responsibility. They don't feel responsible. They've decided that they're going to set their own hours. They're going to show up in court when, they feel like it. They're not going to keep their appointment. They're not, is that mental illness, or is that just, an aggressive FU?
It's possibly both, and I'll tell you what, because, they probably did the latter, as you said, but the issue that this boy may have also been in this family and not diagnosed.
Well, the school obviously gave them at least 24 hours of a heads up that their child was in some sort of peril, that their child was having a behavioral issue. And the parents just chose to ignore it. So I can't fault mental health for this one. This is
I'm not either. I just want to point out to you and others that
this is pure criminality and a pure decision to be on the wrong side of the law. This is a decision that was made to be a straw purchaser for a 15-year-old, to buy a gun for Christmas for a 15-year-old who obviously was having trouble in school anyway, because she's writing letters on her Facebook page to Donald Trump saying my child can't do 4th grade math, right? And this is, in 2016. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, of course I do. And what I'm saying to you is
that's not mental illness. That's bad parenting.
But it is bad talent. I agree with you on that too. But I think that actually, if we delve into their past,
well,
I'm sure they've had issues too.
Well, they both, I told you, were arrested in Florida for DUIs, both of them, in separate incidents, and they were both arrested for fraudulent check writing. That's not mental illness.
Sure
that's
more
criminal. That is people choosing.
Right, but I'm sure there's more to it than we know because
no,
just
I
don't pop out of nowhere.
I think you're conflating mental illness, which is a serious, it's being betrayed by your own chemistry. And you're conflating that with choosing to be lawless, choosing to be fraudulent, choosing to write back checks. That's not mental illness.
Oh no, I know that. Oh, I know. I'm not.
Well,
I'm not trying to convey the two.
That's who his parents are. That's when you say if you look into their past.
I'm not denying at all the criminality. Let's not disagree because I agree with you on that totally. But I'm saying that if we delve into their lives a little more than we have on the
surface. I'm sorry. I refuse. I will not accept common criminals, ordinary fraudsters. Because then, so Trump did what he did, and Trump incited violence, and Trump told people to, you won't have a country anymore unless you fight like hell. Trump actually, defrauded his own students at his own self-named university because he's mentally ill. No. Trump is a criminal. He believes he's a mob boss, okay? He acts like a mob. You would have to say that, every mafia family suffers from mental illness. No, they suffer from feeling above the law.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
It's Friday, you bastards, on Free Speech TV and everywhere else. Today is another match day. Yes, yesterday we did really well. So thank you so much. Can you do it again? Or do you want to tell somebody to do it? Because today is a match day, too, up to $10,000. Thanks to Karen and Brenda and Deborah and Janet and Mac and Jerry and Joe and Patsy and Gary and Robert and Betty and William, who lives in Michigan. They are going to match whatever you can do today up to $10,000. That is awesome. So visit us at freespeech.org or dial us at 877-378-8669. It's on the screen, 877-378-8669, or text FSTV to 44321. 44321. FSTV will send you a secure link. You can make your donation that way. It will be matched. Dollar for dollar, up to $10,000. There are lovely gifts for you, depending on how much you can do and what you choose. That we will, because we like to reciprocate. We do. And let's see what we can do today to benefit Free Speech TV, which is a not-for-profit independent media company. Okay. Tony in Oxford, Michigan. Oh, hey.
Hi, Randi. First time.
Oh, hey.
Long time listener.
All right.
Yeah,
tell me everything. Tell me what's going on in your town.
Well, we're having a vigil tonight, and we got ribbons everywhere, thoughts and prayers and stuff like that. I'm really tired of thoughts and prayers right now. It's time for action. But
I hear you.
My town is a very small town, and we have like I don't know, 2 or 3 gun shops now, or places where you can get weapons and ammo. And I am a gun owner and I'm a hunter, but I don't have any.
No, it's Michigan. I know.
I don't have any handguns. I don't believe in handguns. And my new neighbor across the street just moved in. They've got all these signs. Everybody's got signs around here. They get those stupid little signs they play everywhere, about everything. You unmask my kids. I mean, they're just ridiculous, Randi. It's just over the top. Everywhere the flags. I could see it coming, and my kids were a little worried when they went to school there.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody flies. These kids fly the Confederate flag. They think it's some kind of symbol of freedom or something, or
good
rebel.
God.
Yeah, it's just everywhere around here, and it does not surprise me.
No.
I was almost waiting, and what makes me sick. I was walking my dog when it happened in the park, and I heard all these sirens going off. And I'm thinking, okay, somebody's house on fire, tree or something. It just kept coming and coming and coming, and then I get my phone's blowing up, and it's like, oh, yeah. Active shooter. It's like, oh my God, my friend her daughter sent her. She was talking around the phone, and gunshots were going off. And she ran and got in the car, tried to get as close as she could to the school to get her kids out. But it's insane. Everybody has guns around here.
I know. I mean, everybody. This country has more guns in it than it has people at this point.
Yeah.
It's an epidemic. And listen, I get shooting. I used to, I'd never killed, a live thing in my life, but I skeet shot. I love to shoot.
Yeah.
I'm trained, everything else, but, I'll go to a range or whatever because it's Florida. What are we going to hunt? Iguanas, I'm going to hunt a white heron. I mean, they're beautiful. They're
right. Not much there.
Not much here. So, not really. And yet everyone here in Florida, gun. Everyone here in Florida is packing. Everyone. You got people in Congress now, okay, bringing their Glock to Congress. Right. And then threatening their colleagues on Twitter and threatening them on the TV and threatening them on the Fox. We have turned ourselves into one violent mess of a brainwashed, lunatic fringe country.
Right, and we have a lot of them where I live. This is a very rich part of Oakland County. I mean, Lissa Slotkin's my rep, and I did everything I could to get her elected.
Yeah.
And who knows if she's going to be my rep next go around here.
Right,
I have no idea.
I know.
Oh, your Air Force did a nice missing man circle around the town here. They flew over a few times. It was kind of cool.
Hey, Tony, I wanted to ask you a question real quick. You mentioned you were a hunter and that you don't own a handgun, and you also have a child, right?
I have 2 kids. Yeah.
What message is a parent sending his 15-year-old child when he buys them a semi-automatic handgun? They're not going camping and hunting. Are they saying protect yourself, or are they saying if we have to protect the family, join in the shootout? What is the message?
Yeah, I think it's these kids. This kid was radicalized by his parents. His parents are nuts.
Yeah, his parents are bad parents. I mean, they're bad people. They're people who have been arrested multiple times for various, things that could hurt other people. Obviously, the DUIs are, disgusting. But then the fraudulent checks and the whole 9 yards, and then moving from here. Like I said, Tony, they came from here to you.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So
beautiful. Yeah. Tom read the open letter, the blog letter she sent to Trump after he was elected. I guess.
I mean, there's something.
That was off the. That was way off the hook.
I mean, there's something really evil in this country that's percolating just under the surface with people who seem like regular, normal, shoppers or regular normal parents or regular normal community members, and they're not. They're a hair trigger away from, doing something about their radicalized views of the world. And the radicalization is nearly complete with 30% of this country. And that's really all it takes, as you can see, a minority of this country. Look, yesterday I was showing you how small the minority is. It's 1/10 of 1% that can afford to buy the Supreme Court, that can afford to buy the Senate and the House, right? And we're living under their chosen vision, which is that we should be one set upon the other. I mean, this is happening because they want it to happen. They've made this happen.
Correct.
And it's so sad because, obviously, middle of the road, normal people who are just trying to go along to get along have been radicalized, and they've been made violent, and they've been made resentful. They've been made angry and hateful, and they're passing it on to their kids.
You're right. And Randy, all my neighbors are like my neighbors across the street. They're Christians for Trump. And my next door neighbors, they both had their signs. They still have their sign up. It's Christians for Trump. Freedom. Pro-life and pro-police. That's what it is. And
unless somebody beats a police officer with his own flag, right? With his own
right.
Yeah, then they're not so pro-police, right?
Well, I have one neighbor. I used to rail about this guy. He had his sign up for Trump 2016 for 4 years. But after the insurrection, there is no sign of anything. Yeah. I think only one person got it around here, and he was really crazy. He had all the flags, but there is nothing now. Nothing there.
So interesting. Well, thanks,
it is.
Tony.
It
I'm
just
so
makes you
sorry for
sick.
your town. It does make you sick.
When
it
it
really
comes
does.
to your town,
Yeah.
and you never think it really is a sick feeling. I just can't get it out.
I get
it's
it.
just hard.
I hear you. I mean, listen, we had, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, and that was my neighborhood too. And it's just, you'll never shake it. It has, you've lost your virginity.
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
So pay attention to this, okay? This is Lala Ingram, Eva Braun here, talking to Ted Cruz about all the millions of dollars they spent buying the Supreme Court, and she doesn't feel she's getting her money's worth.
If we have 6 Republican appointees on this court, after all the money that's been raised, the Federalist Society, all these big fat cat dinners, I'm sorry, I'm pissed about this. If this court with 6 justices cannot do the right thing here, the constitutional thing, then I think it's time to do what Robert Bork said we should do, which is to circumscribe the jurisdiction of this court. And they want to blow it up, then that's the way to change things finally. Because this can't stand. This is insane.
I would do that in a heartbeat. As you know, the Constitution gives Congress the authority to restrict the jurisdiction of the court. I think we should do that.
Absolutely.
Oh my God! She's literally saying in that little clip there that they bought the Supreme Court. It's bought and paid for. That the Federalist Society and that Kerry Severino and that the Donors Trust Group, all of these dark money groups, that they spent $100 million buying their Supreme Court justices, buying them, putting them there. And if she can't get them to take rights away from Americans, if she doesn't see the result that they paid for, if she doesn't see, like Ginny Thomas's Heritage Foundation, prevail in taking away 50-year-old rights that we have come to rely on in this country for half of our population to have privacy and autonomy in their own person, then she wants Ted Cruz and the Republicans to limit the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court or blow up the Supreme Court, get rid of the Supreme Court. So we get criticized when we talk about expanding the Supreme Court because it has become a completely purchased political institution, which causes Americans to have no faith in the justice system, no faith in their own government, no faith in anything that we've come to know as democracy, right? And that is the plan. It's the plot. It is the ultimate goal of the Koch brothers. It's the ultimate goal of the billionaire giving class. It's the ultimate goal of the Federalist Society, of the Heritage Foundation, of these right-wing lunatic fringy think tanks, okay? This has been the scheme. This has been the caper. This has been the entire agenda for them all along, right? And now she's saying it out loud and nobody is screaming, oh my God, they bought the Supreme Court, and they're admitting it. And if they don't get the result they want, they're going to blow it up. They're going to overthrow our judicial branch. They're going to hobble it, or they're going to limit its jurisdiction, or they're going to pick the cases that they hear. Listen, this whole case of Roe v. Wade that they're hearing now, this Mississippi, women's health thing, you have to ask yourself this entry-level question. Why are they hearing this case? There is no contretemps. I mean, there's no disagreement in the lower courts about whether or not a constitutional right to privacy and to liberty exists, and whether or not equal protection under law for everybody is equal protection under law. There's no argument. Nothing is at odds. Now, the Supreme Court settles disputes between lower courts. So if a district court held a certain way and then the appeals court held a different way, then the Supremes would be petitioned. There's a writ. It's called a writ of certiorari, right? They would be, asked to mediate between the disagreement between the two courts, the lower court and the mid-level appeals court. There is no disagreement. There never has been. So the fact that they took this case in the first place tells you all you need to know about the evil nature of the money. that bought them what they want. And why abortion? Why abortion and why voting rights? Why are they doing that? Why did they do Citizens United, Shelby versus Holder, which was the decision based on no fact? Nothing had changed at all anywhere in any county, in any state, in any part of the United States that said, oh, you need to weigh in on whether racism in America is over and whether or not you could get rid of states that typically discriminate against voters of color, and whether or not that's been resolved, and then throw out the pre-clearance requirement. None of that had happened. But they created a case called Shelby County, what is that, Alabama, versus Eric Holder, right? They sued the government to get the Supreme Court to say racism is over and you don't need any protections for voters of color in this country. And of course, the second that they threw out that pre-clearance requirement, North Carolina went about their, suppressing votes. Georgia tried to suppress votes. They purged voter lists. All of it. And now they're doing abortion. Why? Because these are issues that people have, and I mean all different people, all different kinds of people, all different, persuasions of people have very strong opinions about. And so the Supreme Court had resolved those issues, the things that people feel very strongly about 50 years ago. 50. Voting Rights Act 65. Roe v. Wade 73. See what I mean? Resolved to keep the peace, resolved in the best way they could, resolved to say, yes, every class of person deserves protection and privacy in their voting and access to voting and access to healthcare and all those things, right? So they decided to open these wounds with the money. The money wanted to open these wounds so that we could be at each other's throats. No other reason. They don't, the Koch brothers don't really care what goes on in my uterus. They don't care what goes on in your uterus, and they really aren't all about voter suppression. They just, it's just stuff that they can, gin up emotion. And when people are radicalized around a feeling instead of, around facts, well, they can have their way. I mean, they could deregulate the banking system. They can, dismantle environmental laws, right? And so now they got, they did, the very first effort they made was Bush v. Gore. And I think we exposed yesterday why Bush v. Gore was such a big issue for the moneyed elite. It was such a big issue because they had an environmentalist named Al Gore 22 years ago who would have brought us into the 20th century at the beginning of the 20th century, or they had an oil guy from Texas who was literally dumb as dirt. And they totally picked the president, and they got away with it. And then they opened up the dark money. They said, come on in, buy more. We're for sale. All the Republicans were for sale. Every single last one of them. This is how we ended up with a Lauren Boebert. This is how we end up with a Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is how you end up in gerrymandered districts. This is how, they pack Democrats so tightly into a district so that you get no representation, even though you're the majority of the population of your state. They did it in Pennsylvania. They did it in Michigan, right? And the only reason why there's a culture war, the only reason why we're discussing my right to privacy, your right to privacy and your own personal papers, effects, and homes is not because the big money gives a damn about anything except getting your data, erasing your privacy rights, and they can do that and start a culture war through my uterus. That's why they picked it. And she's sitting on the TV night before last admitting that they paid for a result. They paid for these justices, and if they don't get what they paid for, they're going to blow it up.
If we have 6 Republican appointees on this court, after all the money that's been raised, the Federalist Society, all these big fat cat dinners, I'm sorry, I'm pissed about this.
So I'm going to tell the truth.
With 6 justices cannot do the right thing here, the constitutional thing, then I think it's time to do what Robert Bork said we should do, which is to circumscribe the jurisdiction of this court. And they want to blow it up, then that's the way to change things finally. Because this can't stand. This is insane.
It's right there for you, okay? That is less than 30 seconds of truth-telling because she's pissed. Because she's pissed. And when you're angry, you don't make the best decisions. And she decided to tell the truth about the dark money that picked these three justices. She actually names the Federal Society, but, doesn't... I'm sorry, she says. I'm pissed. She says that to Ted Cruz. Because she knows he's on the take too, right? So I'm sorry I have to expose you, but I'm just angry today. All right, so tomorrow, Jeffrey Clark, who wrote the coup memo, has a chance to not be held in contempt. He has a chance to go to Congress and testify, but mark my words, he'll take the fifth. That's what he's going to do. And God help us if they don't capture these parents.
Mary had a little man.
We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
I, Robert J. Dole. Do solemnly swear. Sorry, wrong speech. But I had a dream that I would be here this historic week receiving something from the president. But I thought it would be the front door key.
So Bob Dole is dead at the tender age of 98 from fourth stage lung cancer at 98. And he's most known for... Right. But he's a statesman, everybody. He's a statesman is what it is. And, I guess he's known to be a World War II hero. Other than that, I think he was majority leader like twice and served in government for his whole stinking life. Like his whole life. I mean, like his whole life. Like 40 years or some crazy amount of time. 8 years in the House and then 150 years. But see, that was Bob Dole when before Bob Dole was exposed to Trumpism, right? So that's Bob Dole before Trump. Now I'm going to play you Bob Dole after Trump. And if you're easily offended at shocking, aging, don't watch this. This will upset you. But this is Bob Dole after Trump.
I like Donald Trump because he's a strong leader. And he is someone who can work with Congress. If you can't work with Congress, you can't get anything done. And I don't know, there are a lot of similarities between my days in the Senate and what Donald is proposing.
And just one more question. Is this a divided party and what does it need?
Sitting next to Junior.
It means we got to get them back together. And I think the indication tonight is that, a lot of the people are uncertain when they picked Governor Pence. That brought a lot of conservatives over. And, they're months before November. And I think the Trump campaign is going to prevail.
Restoring decency to America. See, that was Bob Dole's thing. The rest of that Presidential Medal of Freedom speech, which, by the way, he was given that Presidential Medal of Freedom by Bill Clinton. And, Bob Dole is known for, just in case you don't know this, he is known for his sense of humor is what it is. I will tell you one of the greatest Bob Dole lines I ever heard, okay, just to not sound so angry at Bob Dole endorsing Donald Trump, which infuriates me. But Bob Dole lost, as you know, to Bill Clinton when Bill Clinton was running for his second term, right? And they asked Bob Dole after he lost how he felt. And, you know, the next day. And he said, I slept like a baby last night. I woke up every 2 hours crying. I thought that was like a really great, you know, joke for the loser. That was Bob Dole. It's a great line. It just is. So I guess rest in peace, you know, Bob Dole. So
Dan Aykroyd put him on the map for me as a young kid.
So that's the thing. That's the thing about Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live could actually take like a football player. Like Gerald Ford was a college athlete. Okay, he was a very accomplished football college athlete. And all it takes is like a couple of pratfalls on Saturday Night Live, and forever you will be known as a klutz. You will be known as a clumsy person. You will be known as somebody who can't, you know, walk up a flight of stairs. But, you know, that's what Saturday Night Live did to Bob Dole. You know, it was like, because Bob Dole always referred to himself as Bob Dole. And so it became sort of like Bob Dole was this, you know, mental midget. And he wasn't. He wasn't. He was very funny. He had a beautiful wife, you know, and he lived to be 98 years old, which I think very few of us will be able to say in the end. So there you go. That's the Senate news. There is no other Senate news, by the way. No, they're not getting rid of the filibuster. I don't see anything on the schedule for the United States Senate having to do with voting rights. I don't see that. I don't see it anywhere on the schedule. And, you know, they're very busy gerrymandering Ohio, Texas, North Carolina, you know, this kind of thing. And this, you know, Freedom to Vote Act, which Joe Manchin wrote, I don't see him getting behind his own piece of legislation and getting the filibuster. And, you know, what did I tell you that I was for? Do you remember? I kept saying anything having to do with constitutionally protected rights should not be subject to the filibuster. It should be carved out and set aside from a supermajority having to agree that I deserve civil liberties, that I deserve freedom in my own person, that I deserve, you know, autonomy over my own body, right? So that would be a civil rights issue, and it's going to be the civil rights issue of the summer, right? And so you would think that and voting rights, especially since, you know, good old Joe Manchin penned the Freedom to Vote Act because he didn't like H.R. 1. No, wasn't fond of H.R. 1. Why wasn't he fond? Because it did ban dark money from politics. Yeah, it did. And those of you who listen to Thursday's show, you know dark money in politics is the reason we're having to sit here and talk about codifying Roe v. Wade in law, and we can't because of the stinking filibuster. So, like I said, carve out all constitutionally guaranteed rights, like voting, like the right to autonomy over your own person, like privacy in your own person, papers, and things like that. And don't let that be subject to the filibuster. What's the problem there? Why can't we do that there? Well, Manchin and Sinema don't want to do that there. They don't want to carve civil liberties. They don't want to carve constitutionally protected rights out from being subject to the filibuster. And I'm not sure if we're going to get a voting rights bill before Christmas, as we were told we would. I don't know. I do know that they're working on, you know, they got the debt ceiling. The deadline for that is December 15th. What is today? The 6th. We have 9 days until we go bankrupt, right? So I know they're working on that. I know they're working on the Build Back Better, which would go a long way to help Americans, right? But if Americans get help and then they realize that they can't access a ballot or they've been gerrymandered out of their district so that they're put into districts that have absolutely no possibility of, you know, changing the leadership that, you know, their district has because they're a Democrat and they've been, you know, packed into 2 districts in the whole state. What good is it? What good is it? So, you know, what can I tell you? Meanwhile, the Crumbleys. Oh, my God. That's where we left off on Friday. The Crumbleys were on the lam. The Crumbleys were Bonnie and Clyde. The Crumbleys were Thelma and Louise. I don't want to get caught. I'm not ready to get caught. Okay, keep going. Really? You mean it, sweetie? You're a great friend. You're the best. Well, the Crumbleys were on the lam, and apparently some 65-year-old guy who owned an art warehouse space in Detroit literally walked them through the back door while they were hiding from law enforcement, and now claims he didn't know they were in trouble. He didn't know that they had an active warrant. He didn't know anything about what happened 40 miles away from Detroit in Oxford. He didn't know anything about the Crumbleys. He didn't know anything about Ethan shooting up his school. That is just not believable. But he turned himself in and said, yes, I helped the Crumbleys. I knew them, but not very well. I certainly did not know they were on the lam. You know, there's never an egg timer around when you need one, but the Crumbleys have now surpassed Kyle Rittenhouse's mother as being the worst parents ever.
All things Randy at RandyRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
All right, everybody. Tonight's the last night of Hanukkah. So now we can move into the Christmas season. And we all know Jesus is the reason for the season, right? Right?
Congressman Thomas Massey posted this photo of his family holding an assortment of firearms. This was posted to Twitter yesterday with the caption, "Merry Christmas. P.S. Santa, please bring ammo."
Oh, God.
The Republican from Kentucky has since gotten major backlash, with critics slamming the post as tone deaf. Fellow GOP Congressman Adam Kinzinger tweeting, quote, "I'm pro-Second Amendment, but this isn't supporting the right to keep and bear arms. This is a gun fetish."
You think? I mean, since when is a machine gun the reason for the season? What is the reason for the... I mean, what would Jesus tweet? What would he tweet? Right, an AR. Yeah, you know, these semi-automatic weapons, one of those was a machine gun. One of those that they were holding there was a machine gun. The other one was a semi-automatic machine gun. I don't even know that you can own those guns in America without special permission. I don't know. And look at this family. Of course, that just screams Jesus. It just screams the dear, sweet baby Jesus, doesn't it? I think of nothing but manger and three wise men. Can you believe this? I mean, I honestly, I don't understand, you know, what is going on here. I don't, and they doubled down today. He literally doubled down today when, you know, they said, look, you just had a school shooting, you know, like last week. Okay, you had people who gave a confused, bullied, angry child access to a deadly weapon, who then predictably went on a killing spree, and then the parents fled and hid out in an art warehouse in Detroit. You know, this brings up the question about the Crumbleys, though. Why didn't the Crumbleys just sell their child to Ghislaine Maxwell and make some money off of him? I mean, they didn't want him. Why didn't they just sell him to the Taliban? I understand you can get $2,000 for a 9-year-old girl. What can you get for a 15-year-old boy? I don't know. Worth making a phone call, I guess, and asking, because I can't believe. And then they have the audacity to tweet for Christmas. I mean, it looks like. Oh, wait. Maybe they're from Kentucky. Maybe they thought peace on earth was spelled P-E-I or P-I-E-C-E. Maybe they thought it was peace. Like, oh, please. Do you know what this looks like? Look at that. That looks like a parody of a Christmas card. That looks like something that would have been in the old National Lampoon. That looks like something that, I swear to God, thank God they, you know, that's going to be on SNL next Saturday. That'll be on SNL. You know, and it's worse because of the Michigan killings. You know, that makes it even more offensive. But I guess you can't schedule your lethal weapon Christmas card photo shoots and release them in a week where America didn't have a school shooting. I guess that's, you know, it's impossible to release your gun-laden, gun-fetishy Christmas card in a week in America where there were no shootings. I don't. And the caption on that, do you see it? It said, the caption on that says, "Merry Christmas, P.S. Santa, please bring ammo." Santa, please Put the ammo next to the Yule log. Thank you. Oh, my God. These people are so disgusting. And you know what we're having this week? Do you know what America is involved in this week? Yeah, this week we're doing a democracy summit. A democracy summit. That's what we're doing this week. It's 110 countries. And we're virtually hosting it. And the only thing that is sort of not ironic about hosting a democracy summit this year is that Donald Trump isn't the president, because that would be the height of irony. And, you know, you would have like, symposiums featuring Kim Jong-un and Vladimir Putin, right? And Duterte from the Philippines, right? And Donald Trump would be saying that they were the best leaders, and he would introduce them at the Democracy Summit. So that's the only, but I can't, it's a virtual summit, which works out, because where in America would you hold a democracy summit these days? Certainly not in Kentucky, with Thomas Massey being your congressman there and that being his Christmas card and all. You can't hold a democracy summit in Georgia, right? Because in Georgia, it depends on who your Secretary of State is, and then perhaps you can make a phone call and find 11,000 votes. Where in the world, where in America can you have a democracy summit? North Carolina, who's very busy gerrymandering. Texas, we just sued Texas today. The Department of Justice had to sue Texas today for an extreme gerrymander. They got a look-see at the maps in Texas, and they had to sue them because it's a racial gerrymander. I don't even know. Like the only fun part of having a democracy summit this week, the only fun part is that it will set Tucker Carlson's hair on fire. That is the only saving grace. You know, how in the world we are literally losing democracy incrementally in front of our face, in front of our eyeballs. And this is why I started with the voting rights thing. That if we don't get that voting rights legislation before Christmas, what, things are going to be better in January or February? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? No. You know what we had over the weekend? You know what went on over the weekend? I don't even know what this was supposed to be. But it was a white supremacist rally in D.C. I mean, listen, this is just so bizarre. Here, this is their bizarro little, it was called Reclaim America. What are we, in a pawn shop now? You got a ticket? Reclaim America. What are you, native? Look at this. Wearing white gaiters with plastic shields and khakis again with blue sweatshirts, marching to a snare drum. Yeah, nothing says I trust you with democracy more than this scene that you're looking at right now. Look, oh, let me catch up. Yeah, nice formation. And there's the police. I don't even know what this is, okay? I have no idea what this is. I will tell you that it was called Reclaim America. This was the group that used to call themselves American Vanguard or Patriot Vanguard or something. And they had to change their name. You know why they had to change their name? Because that Fields piece of dung that hit Heather Heyer and killed her at the Unite the Right rally, he was part of that group. So they changed their name. And here's the kicker. They didn't properly arrange for rides home, and they ended up stranded in the park in the darkness for hours. These are the same people who gave Joe Biden crap about not having an Afghanistan exit strategy. They ended up waiting for hours in a dark park. I mean, why didn't we just cite them for littering? They are white trash. Just saying. If the name fits, wear it.
Call in, connect. Speak to Randi. Call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
So that there is my phone number. I'm going to give you another phone number now. Not the 270-3844. That would be me. I'm going to give you the number for the people in Denver. In Denver, you could call them. This is the Free Speech TV Christmas Pledge Drive is what it is. It's the holiday pledge drive. And if you're not into Christmas cards with machine guns on it to send a warm and fuzzy Christmas message, I have a better idea for you. So what you can do now, is you can gift in somebody's name and you can give somebody the gift of democracy. You can actually do that. So why not, if you've been racking your brain and you've been trying to figure out, what do I get for the person who says, I don't want anything. Oh, that person drives me crazy. What do you want for Christmas? Nothing. I just want you to be happy. Or I just want you to be healthy. Or I just want peace on earth. Except, the gun people spell it P-I-E-C-E, peace on earth. Yeah, so why don't you do this? Make a donation to Free Speech TV in honor of somebody you care for, somebody you love, somebody that you want to get something really unique for the holidays this year. You can give them the gift of free speech. Yes, you can. So why don't you just give us a call at 877-378-8669 and go ahead and make a little donation there. And then you can, actually dedicate the gift and send the gift to, the notice to somebody that you really care about. So do it online too, freespeech.org, or text it. Text FSTV, Free Speech TV, to 44321, 44321. You can dedicate it there too. And together we can build a better future. We're almost into a new year. It will be an election year. This is a wonderful thing to do for an election season, is to donate to Free Speech TV. So make a contribution today if you certainly can. And thank you very much. Michelle in Pennsylvania.
Why not, if you've been racking your brain?
Yeah. Oh. Hey. Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, I'm here.
So am I.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm watching you on television and you're not linking up. Hi, Randy. This is Michelle from Pennsylvania.
Hi.
Okay. I come from a family of hunters, and although I think the card is totally ridiculous, this is the first time I saw it. And being around guns most of my life, more hunting guns though, do you know that even if the gun is unloaded, you never point it at anybody?
Yeah,
and it looks to me like mother pointing it right to the guy behind her.
I'm sorry?
It looks like the mother, I guess it's the mother, is sitting down and holding the gun pointed right into the chest
of her son.
Of the guy that's, yes.
Yeah, now that you mention it, she is doing that.
Yeah, so much for gun safety, huh?
Look at the weapons, though. Look at what they are. I mean, you're talking, one of these things is a submachine gun. The one that the little girl is holding. That is a submachine gun.
It looks like they're going to hunt the predator. What are they?
I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
Right? That is
right. And then to like I said, I think it's ridiculous to begin with. Anybody handling a gun should know, you don't point a gun directly at someone.
No, I understand.
And
I understand, but they've doubled down today. You know what they said about it? They said, this Christmas photo adds up to freedom. How? How does this add up to freedom? How does this add up to responsibility? How does this add up to democracy? How does this add up to anything except a stunt, right? A stunt.
Right.
So,
I agree.
Right. It's disgusting. I mean, look, they tried to tell us we weren't going to say Merry Christmas. There was... Oh, my God. Now I get it. I just stumbled into it. You know what that is? That's the war on Christmas. That's why military-grade weapons. It's the war on... And it's not just military-grade weapons. I mean, this is like mob stuff. This is really creepy. But that's got to be the reason for the season for them, is that they are declaring war on Christmas. Otherwise, you're left with the question, what would Jesus want for Christmas? And somehow, I think the answer is more frankincense and myrrh than it is submachine guns and ARs. Oh, and I want to show you this, too. This is just amazing. Okay. So you know who Jenna Ryan is? If her name is, familiar, but you can't place it. She is the real estate lady from Texas that took a private jet to the insurrection. Remember her? And the thing that is so offensive about her isn't just that. She took a private jet to an insurrection. Oh, no. That would be pedestrian. That would be basic Trumpism. This is beyond. She actually said, remember, she would not go to jail because she had blonde hair and white skin. Remember her? That's Jenna Ryan. Oh, I'm not going to go to jail because I have blonde hair and white skin, and the judge will never send me to jail. Well, Jenna Ryan, is going to jail. Jenna Ryan is going to a Texas prison, but only for 60 days, for 2 months. She did enter the Capitol. She did, say it was the best day of her life. She did live, Facebook it and all this. And that's what, made the judge give her actual jail time. So now Jenna Ryan is about to go to jail, a Texas prison. The woman who took a private jet to an insurrection has plans for how she believes she's going to get to spend her time in prison.
Okay, so here's the deal. I am going to prison in 3 weeks. At the first week in January, I have to report to prison. And the only thing that I can see that's good about having to go to prison is that I'm going to be able to work out a lot and do a lot of yoga and detox. And also I can't eat because the food is awful and there's just no food. So
there's no food.
Hopefully they have some protein shakes and some protein bars, I think, because you don't want to eat green bologna. That's what they have to eat. So I'm going to end up losing weight in prison. Everyone's telling me that I'll lose weight. So hopefully I'll finally get down to my ideal weight because I won't be able to drink. I won't be able to eat. I won't be able to eat stupid stuff like chips and all the stuff I eat sometimes.
There's no chips in prison.
So I just wanted to go ahead. Don't look at my toes because I'm too freaked out to have a pedicure lately. But this is how much I weigh today. And I'm thinking that I can get down to, 140, so 30 pounds in 2 months. If I do that, then it will be worth going to prison for 60 days.
This girl is demented. So I guess if her prison cafe doesn't have the correct protein shakes or protein bars that she requires for her weight loss, yoga, alcohol detox program, she will, give them a bad Yelp review? What is the deal with this woman? She's definitely not going to prison because she has blonde hair and white skin, which goes over really well in prison, I hear. She must have, membership into the... I know there's an Aryan Brotherhood in prison. Is there an Aryan Sisterhood in prison? Is there an Aryan Chubby Girls Sisterhood? For chubby white girls with blonde hair in prison that need to detox and do downward-facing dog in the shower?
This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
Also over the weekend, the bitter old bitch, the foul-mouthed old bitch, Donald Trump crashed a wedding at Mar-a-Lago. Yes, he does weddings now. And he showed up just to trash General Mark Milley.
You mean you think it's cheaper to leave it there so they can have it than it is to fill it up with a half a tank of gas and fly it into Pakistan or fly it back to our country? You think, yes, sir, we think it's cheaper, sir. That's when I realized he was a fucking idiot.
I'm sorry.
Hey, congratulations to the lucky couple. This is a wedding. And Donald Trump shows up at the wedding, and, this is what he does. And people who now want to be married at Mar-a-Lago, they hope that Donald Trump will show up so that he can curse out some, four-star general at their wedding, right? This is just, and we're having a democracy summit this week. You understand that? Do you know how painful it is to know that this country produced the likes of that and an insurrection, as the end to the sentence? And we still can't get voting rights through, and we're about to lose even more rights as women. Like half the population is staring down, losing our autonomy, losing our ability to, be private in our own bodies. I don't even know how we can show our face at the Democracy Summit, even though it's a virtual summit, because I can't even imagine, what state could host one now? But he called the American media. This was just the little snippet of him calling General Mark Milley an effing idiot. The precursor to it was, he talked at this wedding for a long, long time, longer than the bride's dad or the best man. It was a very this is not normal. Okay, this is not normal. So he called the American media crooked bastards. He called General Mark Milley an effing idiot. He just meandered for about an hour, okay? Turning Point USA, which is the place where you had the guy stand up and ask Charlie Kirk, when do we get to use the guns? Remember that? When do we get to use the guns? How many elections do they get to steal before we use our guns? And even Charlie Kirk had to say, no. We're not violent, and we're not threatening to use the guns. Oh, no, yes, we are. We want to know from you, when do we get to use them? When do we get to kill people? The man said. Well, it was Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, streaming this. Right-wing bloggers, provocateurs, they love this crap. Jack Proceed. Oh, by the way, I have to tell you something. What's her name? Powell. What's her name? Powell. Sidney Powell. You know how much money she made off of the big lie? Do you have any idea how much money she raised off of saying that Dominion had flipped votes and that this election was not free and fair, and that it was rigged and it was crooked and it was dirty and all these things that were untrue, and that she, she went to court 60 times and lost 60 times. And so the court has fined her $175,000 for, using the courts, knowing that what she was doing was untrue and producing no evidence and all this. But you know how much money she raised off of the big lie? You want to know why they do it? You want to know why these conservative, lunatic, fringy people do this stuff? She made $14 million, 14.9, almost $15 million off of the big lie, getting people to donate. It's so unbelievable. That's why they do it. It's all a ruse. It's all a grift. It's all about money. It's all about how do I get you to give, and they think that if they're strong and wrong and they're anti-American and they preach white supremacy and they preach separation and they preach, guns and violence, you'll give them money. And you know what? In a certain sense, they're right. They're pikers, but they're right. And they do make money for themselves. So Donald Trump spent an hour at this wedding saying, we have no press. The press is so corrupt. We don't have a press. If there's a good story about us, a good story about any of the people that are Republicans, they make it a bad story. And if it's a bad story, they make it the worst story. It's the most dishonest group of people. They are the enemy of the people. They are fake news. He said, when I was running in 2015, they had a 95% approval rating, the press did. This is what he's talking about at a wedding. At a wedding, this is what he's doing. Okay? Now, that's not true either. In 2015, 40% of Americans had a great deal or a fair amount of confidence in newspapers. And now 21% of Americans have a great deal or a lot of confidence in newspapers. 16% trust television news, and 12% trust anything that Congress says or does. This is the damage this man has done. And he goes to a wedding and he stands there for an hour talking about fake news and bad media and that Milley is like, First of all, what is he talking about the withdrawal from Afghanistan? Trump never, ever, ever was part of a withdrawal from Afghanistan. Trump was part of a surrender to the Taliban. That is what Trump did. He surrendered to the Taliban and he put it all off. The withdrawal, he put it off till after he was gone and left it for the next guy to figure out, right? He said, I'll never forget Milley saying to me, sir, it's cheaper to leave the equipment than to bring it. And he said, you think it's cheaper to leave it there so they can have it than it is to fill it up with half a tank of gas and fly it into Pakistan? What base do we have in Pakistan? What is he talking about? Who's the effing idiot in this conversation? No, the only reason why he's upset about Milley is because Milley, after he was used in a photo op where Donald Trump used the military to clear Lafayette Square so that he could stand in front of a church and hold a Bible, Milley apologized and said he should not have been there. He shouldn't have been part of it. And so now Donald Trump has to get, his pound of flesh from General Milley and call him an effing idiot. It's some young couple's wedding that they paid top dollar to have in Tony Palm Beach at Mar-a-Lago. Do you understand how effed up this is? I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I honestly don't. But, when we have this democracy summit, I'm pretty sure some of the democracies in this world are going to ask us if we're the world's greatest democracy, A, how did that happen? And B, what is the chance that it could happen to you again? I mean, the world is looking at, possibly another run for the presidency by that guy, by that thing. And then the Democracy Summit will actually feature Duterte and the guy from Poland and Putin as he invades Ukraine and Kim Jong-un as he tests more missiles. Do you know what I'm saying? This is so ridiculous. And by the way, I have to tell you, there is a place called Freedom House. That was it was set up to look at all the democracies in this world, to measure them and make sure that they weren't becoming illiberal or slipping or becoming autocratic or becoming oligarchies, right? And Freedom House was set up by Eleanor Roosevelt back in the day, right? And Freedom House just did their annual rankings of democracies. You know what? Out of the top 100, do you think we're 83rd. We're 83rd in the world. And the reason that they say we're 83rd in the world, we rank worse than Finland and Denmark and Germany and Estonia and Uruguay and Japan and New Zealand, just to name a few, because they say that our democratic institutions are eroding. The electoral process is eroding, meaning it has a taint of people not trusting it because of this man. There is our criminal justice system is disgusting. The whole world knows this. Our policies on immigration and being able to seek asylum are grotesque. And the inequality in this country, the disparities between the top and the bottom are so steep. So, and the opportunities in this country are limited to people who now have political influence. So, I mean, the rest of the world is looking at us and saying, you've drifted into authoritarianism. You have the trappings of a democracy, meaning it looks like people can access their ballot, but in reality, no, they can't. You purge them and you take down, the drop boxes, and you tell people they can't register on the same day to go vote. They have to be, like months in the preparation, and you're drifting into authoritarianism. They're talking about autocrats and enablers of autocrats.
Donate. Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon.
I have a dream today.
Change has come to America.
Believe me. Help is on the way.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show. Turn up your mind.
Clearly, in South Africa, Omicron has a transmission advantage, because if you look at the number of cases now, they were very much at a low level. Then they had almost a vertical spike upwards, which is almost exclusively Omicron. Thus far, though it's too early to really make any definitive statements about it, thus far it does not look like there's a great degree of severity to it, but we really got to be careful before we make any determinations that it is less severe or really doesn't cause any severe illness comparable to Delta. But thus far, the signals are a bit encouraging regarding the severity. But again, you got to hold judgment until we get more experience. But clearly, it is becoming the dominant variant in South Africa. The question for us here in the United States, now that it is clearly here in at least 15 or more states and in about 40 countries, is what is it going to be as it competes with a very dominant variant Delta, which we have 99.9% of the isolates in the United States are Delta. And it's going to be very interesting to see when you have the Omicron, which is now clearly in our own country, and there is an indication of community spread. What's going to happen when you have those two competing with each other? It's going to be very interesting to do what we're doing now, watching it. But as you mentioned, I just heard you make the comment in the introduction, boosters are going to be really critical in addressing whether or not we're going to be able to handle this.
Boosters, they're telling us three exposures, whether you had natural exposure and you got COVID and then got 2 vaccines, that would be 3 exposures, or 3 vaccines, that would be 3 exposures, is the key to keeping yourself disease-free. I don't know how else to put it to you. Disease-free. They're saying 3 exposures is kind of what it takes. Now, Omicron, whatever, it seems like it isn't as severe as Delta. The problem is 99.9% of all the cases here are Delta. 99.9% of all the cases here are Delta. Now, if Omicron competes with Delta, the reason why it'll be interesting is because if Omicron wins, it seems to be, at this early part of the play, it seems to be that Omicron is less severe a disease, that variant produces less severe symptoms and less severe disease. So that would be great if Delta morphed into Omicron and it was more or less like a bad cold or a flu. That, although people do die of flu. But we just got the numbers from the Thanksgiving surge. Yay! We're #1, damn it. Yeah. 121,437 new cases per day now. We were under 100,000 new cases a day. Then everybody started going here and there, hither and thither, and whither and dither, without their vaccinations. And, now we have all these new cases. Hospitalizations are up, and deaths. We lost 1,651 people each day to the Delta variant, which is 99.9% of all the COVID cases in the United States. So while Omicron is a new variant and it's mutated, and we don't know if it would be, just as responsive to the current vaccines that we have, they're saying to us that 3 exposures to COVID-19 in any form, whether it's alpha, beta, delta, Omicron, 3 exposures tends to make your immune system recognize it and produce a immune response that beats it back. So I'm just passing it along. That's what I was reading. But Omicron is in 15 states right now. It's in Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Utah, Washington, and Wisconsin. You know which state I didn't mention? The one I'm in. Know why? We don't report. Whenever you see a map, you're going to see, every time I look at it, I see a map of, and Florida has like a gray color to it with lines going there, meaning it doesn't report. It doesn't report.
And can I tell you another thing about Florida, Randy? The inadequacy of our response compared to other states, it's tough to gauge until you go to other states. When I was in New York, Everyone was masked. I went to a Syracuse football game. I had to have my card at the door. They had stacks of masks for anybody who came in unmasked. Everybody in the stadium, unless they were literally drinking or eating something, had their mask on. It was a stark difference.
And New York just issued a mandatory vaccination for all private sector workers. All private sector workers. That was today. And I'll tell you, Jess is here from California, and the same thing, you know, she has to show her vaccination card to get anywhere, to go to any place, to, you know, go to a restaurant, to go to a play, to go, you know, she saw Hamilton for like the 416th or 17th time, I'm thinking. Yeah, she loves Hamilton. So, yeah, but she said to me yesterday, I think we were talking, and she said, you know, Aunt Randi, she went to the movies yesterday, and no one asked for any proof of vaccination. You didn't have to wear a mask if you didn't want to, and it's an indoor activity. She said there were only 2 people in the movie theater. Well, that's why there's only 2 people in the movie theater in places that don't require proof of vaccination, because people are scared to go to the movie theater. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. Now, again, Omicron, we don't know the severity. We don't know the transmissibility of it. It could take us weeks to figure this out, but so far, so good. But 99.9% of everything here right now in this country is Delta. And Delta is bad. It's bad. So I would suggest that if you live in one of these places like I do, where people just either don't want to wear a mask or refuse to. Oh, I have to tell you this. So Loretta's in the hospital. Why? She's 91. So I think they come and take her, you know, routinely to the hospital because she's 91. I think it's the law. Probably is. But no, she's okay. I mean, so far so good. She just, she fell out of bed is what happened. And fire rescue called, and they said, what do you want us to do with her? And I said, bring her in. So anyway, she's in the hospital. So I go to the hospital Saturday. I think this all happened Saturday. Yeah, Saturday night. I was at the grocery store when I got the call. I was doing her shopping, my shopping, I told you. So I get a call from the EMT, the fire rescue, and they say, your mom, we have her, blah, blah, blah. Her blood pressure was super, super low. It was like 74 over 54. Hello. I said, oh, no, take her. All jokes aside, right? So then I drop off my groceries. I run to the hospital, and I'm wearing my vaccinated T-shirt, right? You know that vaccinated T-shirt that I wear? It says vaccinated, and in the small letters, which I don't know if you can see on your TV or not. I'm not wearing it today, but it says vaccinated because I'm not an idiot. I can't tell you how many nurses, how many doctors, how many techs, the CAT scan tech, because, you know, she fell. They had to do a CAT scan of her head and everything. I said, could I take a picture of your T-shirt? I love that T-shirt. Can I take? Because they're in there on the front lines and they know what's going on the floor where all the COVID patients are. And they're like, that is the best T-shirt. That is just so great. You know what I mean? This is Florida. And people are so stupid. And they just think, you know, either it's a hoax or they're immune or it's not going to happen to them or whatever. You know, and they just keep spreading it around. So now we're over 100,000 new cases a day in this country. We're over 1,500 deaths a day again in this country. Hospitals are starting to fill up again in this country, but only in certain places. You know, places where they don't ask you to wear a mask. Places where they don't ask you to social distance. Places where they don't ask for a vaccination ID card. Not an ID card, but a proof of vaccination card. Can you just wash your hands or something? I mean, I know you're not up for testing. I know you're not up for vaccinations. I know you're not up for social distancing. I know you're not up for, you know, looking out for your children or anything like that. So how about you just wash your hands? Or something like that. Could I ask that?
All things Randi at RandiRhodes.com.
Go for launch.
Speaking truth to power, the Randi Rhodes Show.
Republican Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin said this week that you've been using coronavirus to keep Americans in fear and maintain control. Take a listen.
Fauci did the exact same thing with AIDS.
Oh my God.
He overhyped it. He created all kinds of fear, saying it could affect the entire population when it couldn't. And he's using the exact same playbook for COVID.
Obviously, that's a bizarre and false assertion. President George W. Bush gave you the Presidential Medal of Freedom because of your leadership in the AIDS crisis, but I did want to give you an opportunity to respond.
You know, Jake, how do you respond to something as preposterous as that? Overhyping AIDS? It's killed over 750,000 Americans and 36 million people worldwide. How do you overhype that? Overhyping COVID? It's already killed 780,000 Americans and over 5 million people worldwide. So I don't have any clue of what he's talking about.
It is very sick and sad. And, you know, depending on which day of the week it is, there's a new excuse about, COVID. There's a new excuse about Fauci. You remember last week when, I don't know what happened to Lara Logan. I'm guessing, some sort of traumatic brain injury from being in war zones. I don't know if she hit her head or some loud boom or Havana syndrome or what the hey is going on with her. But she accused Dr. Fauci of being Dr. Mengele, who literally had a fetish for doing weird experiments on children in the Holocaust. We're having, mass death. We have a mass casualty event on our hands here in this country. We've lost almost 1 million people to this virus. Worldwide, 5 million people are dead. AIDS, 36 million people worldwide died, and 750,000 Americans died from the AIDS virus, which Dr. Fauci was able to figure out a way, not to cure it, but to put it at bay and let people live. And somehow he's Mengele, who would dispose of the bodies after the experiment. What the hell is going on in this Republican Party, except that they're playing on people's anger and resentment and fear and stupidity, point blank, just stupidity. So now we're up to almost 60,000 people are in the hospital. We have 1,600 deaths a day, every day in this country, again, because of the Thanksgiving surge. We have over 120,000 new cases a day again. And it's people who aren't vaccinated. It's people who just don't give a rat's. They just couldn't care less. John in Indiana.
Yes, ma'am.
May I help you?
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you.
I just want to let you know that the unvaccinated is not spreading or getting as many cases as the vaccinated.
That's not true.
96% of people in the hospital right now is vaccinated.
No.
My neighbors is fully vaccinated.
No. Don't lie on my show. Because...
graphic hydroxide, you know what that is?
Because putting out false information is not... It's not permitted on any of the platforms that I'm on. So please
I would never put out false information, ma'am.
Please don't. Please don't
make stuff up. I've never put out any false information at all.
You just did. The people in the hospital, the people who are suffering with severe COVID have not been vaccinated. The vaccines prevent severe disease. That's what they do.
That's just the numbers they're putting out. They're lying to us, so I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm not really putting out a lie. I'm just telling you they're reversing the numbers.
Who's lying to? John Hopkins University?
The people who's controlling stuff like Fauci.
John Hopkins University is who we get the numbers from, and they have no reason to lie.
Okay, they're all bought off by the Bloombergs and the Rothschilds and all these rich bankers.
Not bought up by anybody. Johns Hopkins is one of the best research hospitals that saved Howard's son from leukemia when he was a child. Okay,
they do some good work.
This is one of the best medical institutions in the world, and I will not allow you to denigrate their reputation because you read something on Facebook.
Well, see, I don't go to Facebook, man.
Yeah, you do. Where are you getting?
I get my stuff from the CDC and the
so you got a
FDA
number.
and the CDC and
you got
government affiliates.
So you got 96% of hospitalized patients have been vaccinated from
around the world
from the CDC.
And 60% of people dying around the world is fully
okay. See, this is what I'm talking about. He's getting this right off of Facebook. I mean, there's just no way he's not, because no reputable medical institution, not the Lancet, which is the British medical journal, not our medical journals, not Johns Hopkins, not the Centers for Disease Control, the National Institutes of Health, and the FDA does not put out numbers. So I don't even know, why you lie in such a transparent way. You're so easily debunked, dude. Stop going to Facebook for your information. Stop going to fake websites. Stop going to Fox News, which is also fake. It's fake and it's fraudulent and it's dangerous. It's dangerous. You know, for all living things. Just is. Barry in Florida.
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
First of all, as soon as that guy before me said the Rothschilds and the Bloombergs, he just showed he was an anti-Semite. You should have hung up on him. But another subject.
You know, it's so funny because I know Bloomberg and I don't even associate him with being a Semite. I just don't.
Well, another point. Living in Broward County, I'd love to get your thoughts on our brilliant governor, DeSantis, wanting to put together a private militia.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. He wants to have a private militia unencumbered by the federal government. Okay, well, thanks for the inquiry. And, why did you call me? Our governor, death sentence, who refuses to put out any numbers, on COVID, is looking to get $3.5 million from the state legislature so he could set up his civilian defense corps. He says he wants the flexibility and the ability to respond to events in our state in the most effective way possible. Now, what you have to hold in your head, the two thoughts about this is, the first thought about DeSantis is DeSantis wants to call peaceful protest, really. He wants to call that riots. And the courts here said that is not a riot. You are literally taking away and infringing upon people's First Amendment rights, which are federally guaranteed rights. And you, as a state governor, don't get to do that. So they struck down his riot law. But you know that he thinks that any protest at all is a riot, even if it's peaceful. But as long as it's not a white supremacist, sort of an organization of people, he's against it. So the court struck that down. So now he's going down a new road where he wants a civilian corps to respond to all events, rapidly and swiftly, right, as he calls it, that doesn't have to answer to the feds. So he's asking our legislature to appropriate $3.5 million to arm them and train them. This is what's going on in this state. Now, people are going to conflate this with Obama's, AmeriCorps, because it had core in it. That was, he wanted people to do service to the country, but in diplomatic means, using diplomatic means, you know what I mean? And this is not that. This is not that. No governor should have his own hand-picked army. No governor should have a secret police force.
Call in, connect. To speak to Randi, call 561-270-3844. 561-270-3844.
Okay, don't forget this is the holiday pledge drive for Free Speech TV, and you can gift a holiday gift to somebody when you make a donation to Free Speech TV. You can put it in their name and then let them know that you gave them the gift of democracy. You gave them the gift of free speech. You gave them the gift of facts. You gave them the gift of orientation into this world, right? And all you need to do is dial 877-378-8669 and speak to some lovely person in Denver who will be very happy to help you out. Or you can do it online if that's the way you like to roll. Freespeech.org is our website, and you can put the /donate at the end of freespeech.org if you want to go to the right landing page. And also, you can text. Just do 44321 and then text FSTV to 44321, and we'll send you a secure link. You can follow the pledge drive. You can see how close we are to meeting our goal. You can see how far we are from meeting our goal. You can do all those really cool things on that little link that we're going to send you. It's a great way to do it. It's nice. It's simple. It's easy. All right. So all during the break, the phone is lighting up from real lunatic, fringy folks who are saying. One guy just said, well, the guy that I hung up on, he wanted to say that that we were being lied to, that the COVID shot was gene therapy. Gene therapy. well, what genes are they after in you? What is so special about your genes that they need to alter them to do what? First of all, I told you a million times, this is not a live virus that they're injecting into you. It's a piece that teaches your immune system to make antibodies. That's all it does. And those antibodies then land on the spike protein that's on the virus and plug it up so it can't enter your cells. The material, the portion, the piece of the virus does not enter the nucleus of your cell, which is what gene therapy would do. It would enter your cell. And gene therapy is used for things like cystic fibrosis. Gene therapy is used to cure really devastating diseases. And if you think that those $4,000 a month protocols are something that we're spending on your stupid behind, there's something wrong with you to begin with. Second, it's not entering the cell at all, the mRNA, which is just a memory of RNA. That's what it is. It's what the M stands for. It's not entering the nucleus of your cell, number two. Number three, this guy wanted to say 96% of all the people in the hospital had been vaccinated. It's exactly the opposite. 99% of all the people in the hospital have not been vaccinated. 99% of all hospitalizations are unvaccinated people. Almost 100% of all deaths are unvaccinated people. 99.9% of all the deaths from this virus are because people are unvaccinated. Then we just had this crazy dude from Indiana call, and he said he didn't want to get the vaccine, but his wife made him, cuck. His wife made him, and now he regrets it because immigrants, and I didn't know which ones he was talking about, immigrants are coming here with variants and making his vaccine useless. So which is it? The vaccine is good and it prevents hospitalization and death, or the vaccine is bad because immigrants are bringing variants? First of all, do you know that in order to get the Form 1-693, which all migrants have to have in order to proceed with immigration in this country, okay, they have to be vaccinated. Even the people who the court ruled have to remain in Mexico, and they won't let Biden reverse the remain in Mexico policy without legislation. That broke today. But the remain in Mexico policy is still in place, right? Because the courts told Biden he can't get rid of it without legislation. So the remain in Mexico policy is the policy for immigration right now. And he's offering vaccines to the people on the Mexican side of the U.S. border. On the Mexico side of the Mexico-U.S. border, he's offering to vaccinate them. We also just shipped millions of doses of vaccine to South Africa and to other medium and poorer countries who have very low vaccination rates, because the only way to stop a global pandemic is to vaccinate the globe. You people are really disgusting. I mean, really, and stupid. But the heinous nature that you approach this topic with, the low, regard that you have for our great institutions, the National Institutes of Health happens to be one of those. It's so indicative of the hatred that was fed to you, that you ingested, that has poisoned you. You are toxic. You are poison. You're poison for democracy. You're poison for the general welfare of this country. You're poison for the health of your children. You're poison. You understand that?
And they tend to be cowards, because as soon as I tell them they're going to go on with Randi on air,
they hang up. I mean, they flee. They flee the interview. Yes, they're cowards because they're liars. They're liars who don't have any convictions for what they're about to say, because they know they got it off of some dumb ass web podcast or some dumb place on Facebook or some right-wing lunatic fringy site, or, this is where that bad information comes from. That's why Free Speech TV is here. It is truly here to combat misinformation, disinformation, which is also part of the reason why Freedom House ranks us 83rd in the world for functioning democracy and functioning democratic institutions, because of the amount of distrust and disinformation and misinformation that is belched into the body politic in this country by virtue of Facebook and Instagram and Gab and Telegram and Parler and Fox News and Newsmax and One America News Network. All of these places are front-running phonies. And they're just doing it for money. That's it. They're trying to carve out a little niche where they could just suck out your money. It's a grift. And they're very successful with people who can be fooled all of the time. You know that old saying, you can fool some of the people all the time. You can fool all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time. Except for Republicans. You can fool all of them all the time. I guess they're just some of the people that you can fool all the time. It is just so predictably knowable that those people who want to believe that Donald Trump had your best interests in his heart and mind the whole time he was president, who created this vaccine, is actually trying to kill you. I don't even know. Except to tell you, it's nothing but hatred. It's pure, unadulterated hatred for institutions that keep you well and safe and tend to you in your worst hour. In your worst hour.
Fatality. This is the Randi Rhodes Show. To speak with Randi, dial 561-270-3844. That's 561-270-3844.
This is the governor of Mississippi.
You read the Constitution, and in my opinion, there is no guaranteed right to an abortion in our U.S. Constitution. And furthermore, not only is there not a guaranteed right, there's also nothing in the Constitution that prohibits individual states from enacting their own laws. And after all, that's really what the Founding Fathers intended. For any issue that is not explicit in the Constitution, it should be left to the states and the state legislatures and the democratic process. And so I just want to make sure everyone is clear that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, that doesn't mean that no one in America is going to have access, although that might make people like me happy. But what it does mean is that all 50 states, the laboratories of democracy, are going to have the ability to enact their own laws with respect to abortion.
Tater over there, his name's Tate Reeves, Taterhead, wants America to be more like Mississippi. I don't think America wants to be more like Mississippi. I think our high hopes for Mississippi was they would be more like America. Mississippi is worst in education, healthcare, infant mortality. This culture of life they got going on there kills more babies than anything else. It's 75 times more risky to have a baby in Mississippi than it is anywhere else in this country. He doesn't think the Constitution has equal protection in it. Let's see if the courts can tell a man he can't impregnate a woman. Let's see how that flies in Mississippi, Tater. Let's see if they start regulating a man's reproductive life and they start mandating vasectomies if you're going to fool around outside of marriage. Let's see, if you pass an STD, what is the penalty under law for a man? I mean, honestly, we don't have equal protection. We don't have the right to privacy. We don't have freedom and liberty guaranteed to each one of us. Do you know what liberty means? It means free to make choices over your own person. No one can own you. No one can control what your body does or does not do. You understand that, Tater? And when he was confronted with the fact on State of the Union, with the fact that Mississippi has the highest infant mortality rate in the nation, how could you lecture us on pro-life? You have the worst vaccination rates in the country. People are dying. You have so much obesity in Mississippi that when people who are obese get COVID, it's much, much riskier for them. And they won't get vaccinated. And you have the highest infant mortality rate. You go, well, we have to work on it. We have to work on it.
You clearly see this move as part of a culture of life, as you've said in the past. Mississippi, of course, ranks 50th in the country in infant mortality. Oh my God. Mississippi is nearly last when it comes to childhood hunger. Oh my God. According to a recent study of what kids need to thrive from the Annie E. Casey Foundation, looking at economic well-being and education and health and family and community, Mississippi ranks 50th out of 50 for child well-being. How do you square those statistics about Mississippi with what you say about a culture of life?
Well, first of all, when you look at that unborn baby in the womb and you consider it a human being, it really changes your perspective on lots of different things. But with respect to the statistics that you quoted, when I ran for office and then ultimately in my first inaugural address, I made it very clear to the people in my state that I believed in my heart that I was elected not to try to hide our problems or not to try to hide our challenges, but to try to fix them. And I perfectly acknowledge that many of those statistics in terms of health outcomes in our state, we're underperforming relative to other states across the nation. Right. And it's incumbent upon all of us to work to pass policies to change that. And, you know, when you look at health outcomes, whether it's prenatal care or other areas, we have a ways to go, and that hasn't become effective in the last year and a half, but it's happened over 200 years of our state's existence, and we're going to do everything we can to improve upon that.
But they are last in the country in every metric that goes toward quality of life for children. Children in Mississippi are hungrier than any other state. Children in Mississippi are poorly educated. Children in Mississippi are more likely to die in childbirth than any other state. They are the lowest vaccinated state. They don't have a culture of life. They're morons. They're being suckered every minute to vote against their own best interests, which is the welfare of their children, which is the safety of their community. It's not a baby, Tater. There is no chance for an embryo to have a meaningful life outside the womb. Stop referring to a group of cells as a child and the vaccine as some sort of a curse. Oh my God. Listen, here's how the courts decide. They decide whether or not there is a capability of a meaningful life outside the mother's womb. And the state has no compelling interest for anything but the mother when there is no chance for a meaningful life outside of the womb. This is what the constitutionally made and upheld decisions on Roe v. Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey found. And that is why we allow women to be autonomous and have their own say over their own life, their own body, their own health, their own children. They are literally trying to take rights away. The right to vote, the right to have a child or not have a child. They want the state to mandate what you must do during your lifetime. What you must do, because Tater wants you to do what he wants you to do. You have the 14th Amendment, which guarantees personal liberty. It restricts the state from acting on your personal liberty without due process, meaning nobody goes to jail without due process, right? Nobody can be told that their liberty is being taken away without due process. We just don't have a constitution that permits that. And here he's saying the Constitution doesn't protect you from that. The state can have its way with you. In Mississippi, where they have a really bad record on preserving and protecting the life of the living, whether they're elderly with the COVID situation or they're just being born. We have equal protection under law. I hate to tell you, for 50 years now, women do. And they're looking to take it away. This is really frightening stuff. Like I said, the only saving grace, the only good thing, because I am a sunny optimist, so I could find like the good in every bad thing, right? Is that this decision will come during the summer right ahead of the midterm election. And if this decision comes and it takes away women's rights, they will reap the whirlwind at the ballot box. They will pay the ultimate price for them. The ultimate price for them, the price they aren't willing to pay, is to be voted out of power. It's all power. Power over me, power over you, power over freedom of movement, power over your family decisions, power over your religion and your belief system, whether you have one or you don't, or it's different from theirs. You're not allowed. They want to ban it. They want to stop it. They want to take rights away from you. The freedom people. This is such classic doublespeak. You can't even catch your breath when you hear them talk like that. They said to him, but you understand you have the worst record on all the metrics that would, be measured to decide whether children in your state are being taken care of. They are hungrier. They are ill-equipped to function in society. They aren't given good education. You're last in education. You're last in vaccination. You're last in everything. Well, we have to fix that. It's been going on for 200 years. Oh, my God. No, I'll tell you what's been going on for 200 years. The idea that they can own people. And not just black people anymore. That's why I keep telling you, we're all black now. Especially women. Taking away people's rights in the 21st freaking century. Oh, well, children die here in childbirth more often than any other place. Oh, well.